2013. I am Day 9.
And I'm Husky. This is going to be my first cast for today. I'm waking up bright and early-ish. What is going on, Day 9?
Well, I did the analysis at the weather board earlier for the previous match, MVP versus Feast, and that match was awesome.
That was an awesome series. Was able to check that out. And we also have another awesome series coming up here today. When I was looking through the bracket, this is actually one of the ones I'm most excited about because I love both these players dearly. Of course, one of them is not going to be so happy in about an hour.
Yeah, I mean, this is the weird thing about the single elimination format at this event. One player goes home in every single round, and these two actually have quite a history. Sase actually eliminated Taeja from the Red Bull Battlegrounds last year. Sase also always seems to have Taeja's number when they play. Sase is one of those players who's really creative but really stable, is really good with the weirdness that he executes. Taeja, on the other hand, now has fast medevacs.
I think that is all that needs to be said about Taeja because his drops are so good. And we're seeing a lot of these top Terrans from Wings of Liberty stepping into Heart of the Swarm, and they're like, well, I'm just going to do what I've done before, only much quicker now, as they can get across the map quicker, they can retreat quicker. But the Protoss do have the ability to defend those drops with things like Time Warp, Photon, Overcharge, and that Mothership Core is invaluable. But there definitely still is, I would say, in this matchup, a time kind of between the 15, 17-minute mark where Protoss has got to be very careful, because if they get slightly out of position, Terran are going to have one hell of a time.
Yeah, I mean, we even saw in Feast MVP, Feast had a really rough time dealing with those drops. As the series went later and later and later, it got worse and worse. The only way that really seemed he could stop it was to just kill MVP before then, so.
Absolutely, and I believe that Anna is on the stage to introduce our players. Take it away, Anna.
I'm so excited to introduce to you, first of all, our Terran player. Wearing the jersey for Team Liquid from Korea, it is Taeja. Taeja, you have a lot of fans here supporting you wearing their Liquid shirts. You're a well-respected player, but our casters were just noting that you may have something of a nemesis in Sase. How are you feeling going up against someone that you have played before?
그 팀 팬들도 많으시고 그리고 사세 선수하고 좀 경쟁 그런 게 있는데 그거에 대해서 소감이 어떠신지?
팀 팬분들에게는 감사드리고 뭐 사세와 저는 경쟁자라고 하셨는데 뭐 대회 같은 데서 많이 만나보기도 해서 저도 약간 그렇다고 생각해요.
First of all, he just wanted to thank all of his fans for coming in. And then in regards to Sase, he has played with Sase a lot, so it's going to be a fun match.
Great. Let's give him a cheer as we introduce his opponent from Sweden, our Protoss player. Representing Fnatic, it is Sase. Sase, let's get really down and dirty here. Do you have what it takes to take this match from Taeja?
I come here to play, not to predict, so I will just try my best and we will see.
That sounds like a good job. Let's have you do your job, shake hands, get to your booths, and casters, back to you.
Thank you so much, Anna. You know, I've been really excited about this match since I saw the brackets, then I found out I was casting them, and then I got very, very, very excited. I really think that Sase is one of those players who's going to be one of the first to really overcome the drops that are killing every Protoss across the board.
Yeah, I think that's something that we're going to have to watch out for, or the players themselves are going to have to watch out for, is that, you know, we've seen Protoss be a lot more aggressive because the Mothership kind of, it's one of those units that fills multiple roles. So in the beginning of the game, you can use it to spot the high ground for Blink Stalkers or even just attacking depots or add-ons sometimes. But then later when you fall back and retreat, you have to use your Time Warp and Photon Overcharge perfectly. Otherwise, you can find yourself in a world of hurt. And then it's kind of an awkward position for Protoss now because with the early Widow Mine, when do you work in detection into that build? That's the tough part that a lot of Protoss are struggling with.
It's really funny actually watching a lot of Protosses because they're like, oh, I have Oracles and a Mothership Core, and they're all dodging the Robo, and then mines get built, and they're like, this is bull, man. I should be allowed to go only Oracle and be fine all game long. Unfortunately, the mines, I do believe, one-shot Oracles, so that's kind of...
They one-shot a lot of stuff now, especially since they recently patched it, so they do additional damage versus shields, which kind of excludes all the other races except for Protoss, so it's able to one-shot a lot more units than it was able to before.
But, you know, I do want to note that the Time Warp that I keep calling Time Bomb, because
which sounds so much more badass.
It sounds a lot more epic, but that's fine. I guess I don't think when I talk standard. But with the time bomb, you can throw that down, and essentially it means that your stalkers never take damage from Marines. So what's happening is that we're seeing the Terran players forced to make a lot more Marauders early on, which means that it delays their tech a lot more. So I really think that there's some aggressive options that Protoss have been neglecting in the opening stage that we really saw Feast use brilliantly versus MVP.
Yeah, and I gotta say, Sase, we've mentioned it before, has been able to go toe-to-toe versus Taeja. And Day9, have you been able to see any of Sase's play recently on Heart of the Swarm at all?
I haven't seen Sase play in like a few months, actually.
All right, so it's going to be a big mystery. Kind of, you know, it's one of those things where players like Flash, a lot of the top Koreans, they don't necessarily show their games unless they're at a tournament. That's going to be the only time you're going to be able to see their play. Sase, we haven't been able to see him too much. Taeja, I think you can always just assume is going to be a good player, so we'll just have to wait and see.
In fact, we won't have to wait and see. Mike, you lied to everyone on air. The countdown has begun. It's time for Game 1 between Liquid Taeja and Fnatic Sase. Going to be on Newkirk City, a very difficult
with
map.
an asterisk. Not quite sure what that means.
It's Newkirk City asterisk.
Yeah, I think that's exactly how you have to say it there.
Well, I'm excited to see that title pop up. This is a tough map. Newkirk City. Ooh, no asterisk this time.
Weird. Someone messed up, obviously. Anyways, let's go ahead and introduce our players. Down in the bottom right side, one of the aces of Team Liquid. They have definitely got some good mileage out of him, man. He has been doing very, very well for their team. Give it up for Liquid Taeja.
Down in the bottom left, having trained in Taiwan with Team Gamma Bears and a regular in Korea for many years, it is currently Fnatic Sase.
All right, Day9, I have a knowledge bomb that I want to ask you, since we're just sticking to the word bomb. This map is one of the kind of weirdly laid out maps. What are your thoughts on this for PBT, especially with drops and Protoss also having lots of new air units?
You know, I think that the drops certainly are a big factor, but the biggest factor of all is that essentially the map is a line. You don't really have these roundabout paths like you do on Cloud Kingdom or Star Station, so you have to just face your opponent head on. So this means that the late game dancing is the most important skill to have on this map. Being able to position Vikings and Ghosts against Colossus Storm, absolutely the skill you need to have. And that's what we saw MVP defeat Feast with. And likewise, Sase has to be good with his EMPs, or EMP dodging has to be good with his Colossus. But Sase, of course, does use those warp prisms. And gosh, look at this. Every single freaking Terran player is going for gas before Expo. It looks like he's going to be going Command Center, then Factory.
Yeah, I mean, I think one of the things you have to keep in mind is that with Heart of the Swarm, I mean, of course you have access to the Widow Mine, which is a new unit, the Hellbat, which is a new unit, a very good unit as well. Those you need a Factory, which of course you're going to get the gas, but also you can get out early Reapers. We've seen a lot of players go for the early Reaper, but is getting the early Reaper right now, is that actually an option versus Protoss or Terran doing that?
Yeah, I like it quite a bit. I mean, it essentially forces the first Stalker or even Stalker or two to sit back and chill at home. So Sase is doing the usual thing that we're seeing a lot of Protosses do, get the second gas super fast, because Stalker plus Mothership Core is really annoying to deal with. I mean, even this formation right now that's at Taeja's front, Taeja actually can't defend Stalker Mothership Core pretty much at all at the front. Those supply depots are nearly guaranteed to fall unless he gets a bunker going ASAP.
Right there, the SCV's going to scout through, but really Terran players tend to get a free scout off in every single time they play versus a Protoss player, because you're not going to have a range unit for quite some time. Actually going to be going for Sentry first here, which is going to be kind of nice because you get the little extra energy there, but it is more difficult to chase down the SCV, and the Assault right there trying to kill it off. That SCV is going to barely make it home alive because that Sentry is not going to be chasing him anytime soon.
It's really cool to see that top Terran players all at this tournament are using the same build and also completely different build than compared to Wings of Liberty. Pretty much everyone we've seen is going for this really fast reactor barracks, building 2 Marines at a time. It's just enough to be able to defend some of those early aggressive pushes to be able to get a Widow Mine up in time. So looks like Taeja's just sort of following along with those norms. It's really Sase who I'm interested in, because Protosses are doing things all over the map. Fast robo facility. I'm honestly really hoping that he's going to go for a fast Warp Prism drop with those sentries in there. He used to do that in the early days of MLG, Mike.
Ooh, that would be fun to see. We've seen that versus Zerg a lot, not so much in Heart of the Swarm, as it was good there for a while. And we do have a proxy pylon established up here to the north that is still pretty far away from everything. But what the really good Protoss will do is a lot of counterattacks with just a handful of Zealots. That's good in every single matchup. Robo going to be at halfway done. He's hallucinating an Oracle here. Going to try and, I assume, scare Liquid Taeja into a little overcommitment to defense, as it's going to be flying around and scouting it out.
Yeah, you can often force a Viking here instead of the first medevac. Just put him right on the defensive foot.
As the Oracle right there. We'll see if he's going to fall for it. Now remember that hallucinated units do take additional damage than regular units, so the idea is that you don't let it take damage, but you kind of scare your opponent. So it's going to be going in right there, and we'll see if Taeja falls for this at all. It does take a couple shots there, and the Widow Mine's going to say nope, but that does tell Sase, you know, hey, there's Widow Mines back there, so be careful with future drops.
Kind of a cute little move right there, but I wonder if Taeja actually saw it dissipate. It looks like he did, given that he's going straight for that medevac. Often you have a little bit of fear in you wanting to make that Viking, but Sase preemptively building these pylons, always so great. I mean, we even saw MVP be real studious about picking those pylons off, but if at any point you miss a single spot, Sase will be able to do that counterattacking.
Yeah, I mean, he does have another pylon so close to the base. It's exactly what you want to do. Now, counterattacking the natural is actually very difficult to do versus Terran because the reinforcements, they spawn at the base, plus there's going to be that bunker there. So the natural is basically never undefended. It's the third and fourth bases where Terran players start to stretch out their legs a little bit and become a little bit more vulnerable. We do have the Twilight Council on the way. Any predictions on what this is for?
I'm honestly liking this play from Sase. It's a real standard look, super defensive, but he's just going to be going straight for the Zealot leg plus armor. There is a chance he could be going for Blink, but that I haven't really seen Sase do that sort of thing. He likes to do this and then throw down a bunch of gateways and even get a Warp Prism in addition to the everything.
Yeah, if he did go for Blink, it would be delayed, so we'd have to really, really make sure that he keeps those units alive because he wouldn't have the higher tech units just yet. The medevac going to be moving out. It does have 2 Widow Mines and 4 Marines. Now, this is just a single-pronged, I guess it's just like a pointer drop here, as he doesn't have any other drops to the south. So as long as Sase reacts accordingly here, he's going to be able to hold this off as long as he runs away from those Widow Mines. Got to take minimal damage. Did lose about 6 probes there, I believe, 5 or 6 at least, and he's going to unbro them, get out of there. Damage has been done. Also delayed some mining.
Well, what's going to be going down? I would imagine it's going to be the charge. Sase is a little bit delayed. Yeah, there it goes down now. There's this weird timing that, well, I mean, the standard timing in this matchup is right around the 10-minute mark. That's when the Terran player has a lot of units and medevacs for drop. I mean, before this time, it's just been tiny, little annoying drops, but now we can really see the Terrans start to bring the noise at a number of different fronts. So what you can do as Protoss is defend really hard, which is kind of the standard move. What we see Sase do is do counterattacks around the 10-minute mark because most Terrans have all their units out at the front. Here's the drop at the back. Is he going to notice? Is he going to pull back in time? And a single probe looks like, wow, very nice read there.
Great play here by Taeja, able to save those units. Sase able to defend. I mean, just imagine how devastating it would be if he ended up losing that medevac. With great control, there's going to be another drop inside the main base. These are the drops we're talking about. Between the 10 and about 15-minute mark, the Protoss are really vulnerable to these, so Sase has to react accordingly. He has to think accordingly and make sure that his reaction is perfect. There's a photon overcharge. The medevacs have taken a little bit of damage here, though, so Taeja has to be careful to micro them perfectly because those stalkers will gladly take him down.
Sase's been great about making probes. I mean, 9 workers killed in total and still keeping ahead of Terran. Very nice move.
Yeah, using lots of Chrono Boost there on the economy. The Photon Overcharge is about to wear off right now, so he will be vulnerable once again. The Stalker's actually on the hunt for the medevac here. It looks like Taeja having the Gosu sense to realize that that could be happening. And I gotta say, Sase almost got a free medevac kill there, but not today. The Widow Mine going to be back there defending that 3rd, sometimes 4th base up there. The Observer going to be chasing around these Widow Mines as well. So Sase, I would say, has defended relatively well. It's going to be transitioning into the later stages of the game. That pylon may eventually get taken out here, but not devastating losses for him by any means.
I hate being in this position as Sase. It feels so scary. I mean, normally you've already gotten something big up, something like Colossus or Templar. Wow, 7 gateways going down. Sase does not want this game to go on. I think Sase's starting to realize, yeah, I don't have a 3rd base, couldn't get a 3rd base up, so screw it. I'm going to try to win this game with a 10-gate shove and may very well be able to pull it off in the main base. We see that Taeja does have 5 barracks up, because let's be honest, he's Taeja and optimizes everything. This is looking great for Taeja.
Yeah, I was going to say, especially mixing in those Hellbats right there, going up against Gateway units are going to be crazy.
Oh, everyone quickly get to a forum. Hellbats are being made.
There we go, and remember, they're very, very good at taking out Zealots, plus they have more HP than a Hellion as well, so they absorb shots from everything and are able to be very effective here. There is a semi-Doom drop. He decides not to go for it just yet. The probe spots it. He's going to actually manage to spot exactly where that is, see exactly what's going on here. Now, the entire army for Taeja is not located here. There he is able to group it up right there, and you have to be so careful as Protoss. If you don't have Storm and you're engaging with just Gateway units, if you misclick once, it is all over. He's going to have to rely on the force fields here, and still no Psystorm on the way. Hopefully Sase realizes that and upgrades these to Archons.
Oh, wow. This is an interesting play from Sase. He's going to try to step up and just feed back as many medevacs. He gets 1, 2. Can he get a third? And all 4 of them get picked off, but he might very well be losing all of these units. He's going to have to force field everything, which, as In Control says, will make his army die a little bit slower. And that's about it. So now it looks like the mass warp in from Sase at the back. Immortal taking some hits, could turn around. Yep, see you later, Marauder, but looking very, very scary right now for Sase.
Yeah, I mean, this is just such a good unit composition here from Taeja, especially versus the Gateway units. We do have the 1 Colossus on the way, just now beginning, and again, still no Psystorm, so he's going to be saving those High Templar for feedback. And I think the important thing is that he actually ended up losing those 2 Archons. Here he goes right here. Does Sase have enough charge lots to take this on directly? I think the answer is no. The 1-1 is now done for both these players here, so not an advantage either way, which means Taeja is going to be in the lead. He does have a supply advantage, and Thermal Lance nowhere near done. There's going to be the Time Warp to prevent those units from retreating. The Zealot's going to be able to do lots of damage right now, and the Hellbat's actually in the wrong position there to be able to do it. It looks like Sase's held for now. He is behind in supply, but he is crushing through this army.
Wow, nice defense by Sase. You know, the interesting move that we've seen Sase do is he actually built way more gateways than he was able to support on 2 bases. He had 10 gateways up. Why would he do that? So that way, if a Doom drop comes in, he can warp in 10 units wherever it is. He was leaving those 10 gateways completely idle. So that's a really odd way to deal with these hyper-fast medevacs, but also combined with the feedbacks, Sase just able to thwart it.
Well, yeah, and thankfully for him, he doesn't have to build those anytime soon again to go with his economy. He does have that 3rd base up, just now transferring over those probes. He'd love to be able to have those kick in. The Observer going to be able to spot this. Unfortunately, he doesn't have Blink, so those medevacs are going to escape safely, but the Observer right there has already seen everything. Kind of interesting to see Taeja unload here. This is far away from that 3rd base, considering that he did go for the base up in the top left as opposed to the one right outside of his main, and is going to load up. Oh, he could get the feedbacks right now. He's got to be careful. Not enough energy on those medevacs to actually one-shot them, though. Does need to go for it if possible, because he wants to keep that energy as low as possible. There is an attack up here on the top left side. Looks like it'll be held off.
God, Sase is really good at deflecting all of these pressures, but Taeja has already gotten 2-2, already gotten his 4th command center up, and I mean, if you look down at this 4th base for Taeja, this is what makes this map so tough. It's nearly impossible to stop anyone from taking that base if they're Terran. Sase now about to get hit from all sides.
The Vikings right here got to take it out, throws out the Time Warp first. Unfortunately, it's not exactly where he wanted it to be. It does look like the Hellbats right now got to be eating up the Zealots, and unfortunately for Sase, he's backed into a corner. We've seen this before where it's no good if you're backed into that corner, and the Storms do come out. Is it actually enough here to clean up this army? Looks like Taeja going to be able to do some maximum damage. He's splitting him up, landing the Vikings right now. He has a nice supply lead, 60 to 70 supply lead going on right now, and it does look like the Archon and the High Templar get taken out.
Domination from Taeja. Never let up on Sase all game long. The trickle of red across the map tells the story. I mean, Sase's done his best to try to hold on as long as he can, but Taeja ripping down the 3rd base. Sase says, GG. Another Terran player crushes in the TVP matchup.
Yeah, I mean, they just have so much versatility now between the 10 to 15 minute mark, which is where they were already strong versus Protoss. Of course, Protoss does have a couple new tools in the Mothership core, but really air units, I mean, I just don't know if that's going to be enough for Protoss, at least in the current metagame. They have to figure out how to deal with those early attacks, those early drops, the Widow Mines. There's a lot of new toys for Terran players to play around with.
Yeah, I mean, even talking to MC before the tournament began, he was talking about how Phoenixes really almost have to be incorporated on a lot of maps. And we really have not seen Phoenixes too much. If you think about it, if a Terran player does go for this fast Widow Mine style, he has a really bad time against Phoenixes. He doesn't have a lot of Marines. He can make Vikings, which are too slow to run away from the Phoenixes and be easily picked off. And of course, Widow Mines, you can just lift them up before they burrow and they're essentially useless. All you have to do is make sure you don't fly straight into a bunch of mines. But in that position, it's really hard to say, without any Phoenixes, how do you defend?
Yeah.
Mike, how do you defend?
I personally keel over and die on ladder, so we'll have to see exactly if Sase can figure it out. And it's one of those things where we saw him defend drop after drop after drop after drop, but still struggled there once the army is grouped together. And honestly, Taeja was able to defeat Sase's army before his entire army was even there. Like a quarter of his army was overkilling rocks, so that shows you how comfortable of a spot he was in. Using those charge slots versus Hellbats, Protoss are going to have to learn. You got to do something different. Try to take different engagements. Force the army out of position or something, because Hellbats will eat them alive.
I mean, as I'm looking at the results right now, of the Terran versus Protoss games that have happened at this tournament, 7 wins for Terran, 1 win for Protoss, and that was Feast versus MVP. Huck 3-0'd by Innovation, MVP 3-1ing Feast, and now we have Taeja up 1-0 against Sase. Things are looking very, very good for the Terran players in this position. So given that it is Taeja's map choice, it looks like the map of choice will be, looks like Neo Planet S, one of the newer maps.
Yeah, it's actually a really, really cool map, and if you're not too familiar with it, of course, we're going to be talking about it a little bit. Get that awesome 3D fly-through. So any last thoughts, either on the upcoming map or the match we just watched?
Well, honestly, Sase is going to have to get real aggressive or real creative with the defense, because right now every single Protoss player is struggling with the same thing, and no answers have been found yet.
All right, well, on the analyst desk is going to be Mr. Jeff in control. Jeff, do you have any thoughts? Oh, I'm just kidding. He's not there. He has vanished.
He is actually casting on Stream Blue, and no doubt...
He's getting into it, man.
No doubt he could multitask and do both, but guys, we're going to be stepping away to a quick break, because when we come back, we're going to be hopping into Game 2 between Liquid Taeja and Fnatic Sase.